Good night, gorgeous. My partner strained, reaching over to give me the familiar goodnight peck. Startled, I rise, aiming to meet her midnight kiss in the dark of the night. The only light emanating from the low glow of the laptop, undoubtedly playing one of the trilogies of a popular known movie series featuring walking trees and burning rings. Shit, ouch. A mutual exclamation as we unassumingly bumped the tips of our noses in the unforgiving darkness. I saw her mouthing something at me, but her voice was immediately distant. Having woken suddenly from my slumber, eagerly receptive of the end-of-day affection, I'd seemingly disorientated myself. I vaguely mumbled something back, confused, scared. Why couldn't I hear anything? She mouthed something incoherent at me again. I clutched the sheets. My sweaty palms relived from the cotton. Babe, she mouthed. What was probably only a couple of seconds felt like a blurry minute as I tried to make sense of what was happening in my dazed and half-conscious state. She sat up and leant in towards me. Her eyes seemed to bulge from the glow of the screen. Was she leaning in for another kiss? I could see a frown. She loomed over me, her shadow engulfing what now seemed like the only solace in the room. Her hands deck-ended upon my face. Reaching down, she sunk her fingers into my neck, fumbling around my jugular. What are you doing? I tried to vocalize, but my voice still seemed separate from my body, as though I was hearing myself underwater. I could feel my heart beating in my chest. Her fingers found my ears. They starting scathing the outer ear. And then suddenly she pushed her fingers into my ears. Oh my god, I'm about to go deaf and I can't even remember what the last thing I heard was. I tried to reach for her arms, a feeble attempt to stop what was already in motion. Just as I was about to cry out for the last time, the silence became deafening, and then became loud, and then quiet again. My girlfriend stared at me, motionless, but still conveying enough emotion for me to see the flicker of anger and annoyance in her eye. You fucking idiot. I stared back blankly, basking in the brief miracle of regaining hearing, waiting for the onslaught. An eternity seemed to pass whilst my brain scrambled, trying to reconcile what was happening. You've had your earplugs in this whole time, you weirdo. I don't know if you're the same as me, but I've always hated sleeping with my feet out of the bed. So much so that I don't even like sleeping without socks on. Only on the most sweltering days in summer could I be tempted, against my will, to unsheath my feet. Now, I'm sure this irrational sleep-stealing fear stems back to my friend in junior school. A particular friend of mine, whose parents were seemingly always allowing her to watch the trending horrors of the time, obvious might I add. Horrors that were definitely beyond our years. It was a common theme when staying over at hers. We'd always stick to tradition and push the Titanic tape into the player, silently mouthing along, waiting for her parents to vacate, and then it would be Blair Witch Project or something else nightmare-inducing. Anyway, there was a time when we were kids where she'd recalled the details of a horror film she'd watched, and warned me in all uncertain terms, never to sleep with my feet out the bed. What will happen? I hesitated to ask. Ghost children will come and cut your feet in the night and then make bloody footprints around your house. And that was that for me. Socks. Tucked in sheets. Extra precautions were put in place. That was 11-year-old me, but now in my mid-30s, explaining to my partner why I didn't mind sleeping naked, but the socks were staying on, seemed like an oddity I should have grown out of. Tonight it's peak summer. In England. Which means no aircon, no breeze, and essentially unbearable vinegary heat. Lying in bed, zoning out to a sci-fi drama, I noticed that my partner has drifted off next to me. Unusual for the insomniac, but understandable after the long day we'd had hauling furniture up the narrowest stairs you've ever encountered. Setting up our new home. I neglected to safely move the laptop to its bedtime resting place, and left the drama playing in the background, allowing the sound of the show, along with the repetitive hum of my partner's snoozing, snoring, lull me to sleep. Not long later, or so I thought, it's hard to tell when you're teetering on the REM stage, I felt her shift next to me. Her shadow sprawled across the room as she meandered over the creaky floorboards and out the door, headed down the hall for the bathroom. I fell back to sleep. Fell into a disorientating lucid dream. Felt naked. Chased. Lost. I jolted awake. That falling feeling propelling me back into a dark reality. I felt cold. Not because of the dream. Panicking, I realized something was wrong. A primal fear ensued. A foot had come free from its cotton confines. And not only that, the worst thing imaginable had happened. My sock was off too. Just as I was about to lurch forward and save my exposed flesh, the bedroom door became ajar, and my girlfriend re-entered the room. Her shadow appeared at the end of the bed. She redressed my foot with the blanket before crossing back to her side of the bed. I felt the familiar slump in the bed as she nuzzled back in next to me and pulled the sheets up over her head. The rest of the night was restless. A tussle between insecurity and a hapless need for respite. I woke in the morning with a dull headache. The bed was empty on her side. I assumed she'd be downstairs putting the kettle on, perhaps rolling a morning cigarette. One for each of us. I made my way into the kitchen. No, not there. I headed down the hall and peered round the living room door. Conked out on the sofa. Or at least she was until my rude awakening. "Morning, baby," I cooed and gave her a peck on the forehead. "When did you come down here?" "Oh, I couldn't sleep, as usual. I got up for a wee and then just came straight down. I didn't want to disturb you." The cold feeling was back. This time not on my feet. Throughout my whole body. My bathroom mirror revealed something horrifying. All of this happened during my morning routine. I can't get rid of this thing. I got out of bed and thought this was just like any other day. I walked in the bathroom and brushed my teeth. In my head I went through a plan for today. I spit out the toothpaste and looked at a mirror that was above my sink. It was one of those cabinet mirrors, a pretty basic thing to have. My face needed some cream and I started spreading it on me. That's when I froze. I noticed that my reflection was grinning at me. My reflection looked exactly like me, but its mouth was stretched wide in an unnatural grin. Shivers climbed my spine. I looked away for a second, but I still saw myself grinning at me. "Can you talk?" I said out loud. Suddenly the mirror started to fog and writing appeared on it. "Kind of. Are you me in a different reality?" I asked. "No, your body will be mine soon." Those words made my heart sink. "What do you mean?" "You'll find out tonight," the text said. I looked at my reflection. Its grin widened and it slowly backed away. Its eyes turned black and then he turned away. This part is still stuck in my head. His head snapped a full 180 degrees to face me, the black eyes staring right through my soul. Then, without a warning, he bolted at me full speed. Me being terrified and not knowing what to do, I smashed the mirror to pieces. Looking down, I saw blood dripping from my fist, staining the tiny mirror pieces. I saw my reflection looking at me from the broken pieces. One of the pieces had that same foggy writing. "You can't escape. I am you and I'll follow you everywhere." Have you ever experienced anything like this? Please tell me if there is some type of cure. Level 0. I guess you could say it started when me and my friends were messing around the sewers, and we were filming for this cool video or skit we had planned, and something happened to me where I did not think I could escape from the backrooms. It started with me going down the sewer tunnels and finding this big hole, and it started glowing. And I fell through the hole and found myself in this weird place. It had yellow walls, old lights, and a loud air conditioner. I just stopped for a minute because I hit my head pretty hard and realized I was stuck down here. Not only did I not have something to get myself out of there, and none of my friends were around me because they were setting up the video and being complete morons. So, I decided to look around and I kept finding myself back to where I fell through, but again I could not find anything. After 20 minutes of me just looking around, I found this piece of cardboard. It said, "Lived here once, I guess you could say it's a fever dream." And at the end of the note it said, "If you need a passcode or whatever, I only have one number and this place is endless." Trust me, I gave up. The number was 9. So, I grabbed a piece of cardboard that was left and found the marker that was left and wrote down the number 9, hoping to find more numbers and get out of here. After 30 minutes passed, I noticed the same strange sound when I first fell through that weird pothole. It was a distinct sound, kind of like a mumble or something. I went to investigate as I always do, and of course found nothing. But as 15 minutes passed, or I assumed that 15 minutes passed, lost track of time. Well, that was weird. It was like my thoughts were said aloud but like an echo, kind of like I was stuck in my head. Anyways, I decided to take a break and see what I had in my bag and found a flashlight which might be useful. And I suddenly heard the mumble again, but a little louder than before. I decided to stop what I was doing as if something told me to keep moving. Right. 90-degree angle. I immediately went into a panic and thought that I was going insane. After a minute of thinking of what to do, I decided to go and follow the orders I was given. After, I went left, then right, and I found an arrow pointing to a room that was extremely dark. I grabbed my flashlight out of my bag and went down the hallway of the mysterious dark room, and found 3 slides. They looked like they were from a water park or something like that. I thought I was dreaming or mentally insane. I was not. I went looking for stairs, hoping to find an answer to get out of here. I did find stairs, but they did not lead me where I needed to go. They led me to an elevator. I heard the mumble again. It got louder than last time. I went to the elevator and I did not feel like staying around, as if I felt something watching me. I got on the elevator and there was only one button with an up arrow. I put my flashlight in my bag before I pushed the button. As soon as I put my flashlight in my bag, it screamed in my ear. All it said was level 0. I did not understand it at all, as I was on edge from the last time it directed me where to go. I decided to push the button with an up arrow. I realized the screaming stopped, everything was calm until I felt the elevator move up, and it started playing jazz music as if I was in a hotel lobby. And the doors finally opened as if it felt like an hour. As soon as I got off the elevator, I decided to get some sleep. I found this weird staircase and decided to make a base just in case something comes after me. After 20 minutes of zoning out, I fell asleep. The still woman. She stood there, empty grins for eye sockets with a wide, gaping mouth to match. She was disturbingly happy, despite the nails driven into her skin. I always knew when she would appear. Time would slow to an abrupt halt. The world would fade into vignette. Chills would rush up my spine as hair stood sharply on my neck. The worst part was undoubtedly the wave of dread that washed over my unprepared body. It's as if I'm being beckoned to my horrific death, my body being pulled toward her motionless figure. As soon as I would see her, without fail she would shriek until I was within her reach, until those pale bony fingers were moments from my neck. Then I would wake up. Just another nightmare, right? But nightmares, they don't usually follow you when you wake up. It happened one summer night when I was out with my friends. We had just left the movie theater and were sharing our favorite jump scares. That was when the street lamps all blew out. The world stripped of color. My body froze with fear. But none of my friends seemed to notice. I tried to speak, but my breath was yanked out. I turned towards the lot. My limbs moved like melted wax. There she stood, a football field away, delightfully staring through me. Suddenly, she projected a high-pitched shrill, smothering my soul in doom. Everything went black. I awoke that evening in my bed. Another dream? Please be a dream. BZZZZ, BZZZZ. I groggily picked up my cell. A voice on the other side, familiar and friendly. Hey man, just checking in. You gave us all a big scare back there. Hope you feel better, dude. Beep. I dropped the phone in shock. Not a dream. Subtle, rhythmic tapping began on my bedside window, my upstairs window. I stumbled out of my bed and ran for the lights. Too afraid to turn around, I bolted out of my room, gasping for air. As I ran down the hallway, I looked over my shoulder. My bedroom lights off. Emerging out of the pitch-black doorway, her uncanny grin. I jumped down the stairs and barreled out the front door. As I reached the end of my driveway, I felt a sharp, searing pain swipe my shoulder. Back. I slammed into the pavement, feeding it my flesh. Warm blood streaked down my arm. The ringing in my ears was deafening. I hesitantly turned towards my house, fearing the worst. Nothing. Just empty darkness. I tried to move, begging my body, when out of nowhere, unrelenting fear drowned my muscles. Intangible pins and needles stitched me to the ground, their wetted blades very real. I wailed in agony as my body was viciously dragged into the road. I could see streaks of blood seeping between the cracks, the skin on the front side of my body ground to the muscle. I felt fiery spectral hands lift me up, my feet suspended just above the ground. There, her grin was at its peak, the still woman's. She slightly cocked her head while reaching her arms out for an embrace. I kicked. I flailed. I screamed for help. But every slight movement I made, my body locked up more. Every breath I took was sapped instantly out of my lungs. The nails on her skin glowed red, then sprung out of her body. They seamlessly positioned themselves behind me. I tried resisting. She let out that bone-chilling cry directly within my head. My body seized as fluids oozed out of my ears and eyes. Her withered corpse wrapped around me. Excruciatingly cold pain littered my back as the onslaught of rusted iron dug into my bones. Ag. I could feel my body being swallowed, absorbed into hers. The nails returning to her decayed flesh as they drove me into her insides. My screams of terror and pain muffled by her icy, rotted offal. Now I'm part of her. Eternally damned. I'm still too.